And in those extreme examples, when men have more and more and more and more status, there should be a point at which it breaks, and then the more status doesn't lead to more women, and it never happens.
100%.
23 women want to sue this guy pretending to be Lionel Messi. Did you see this?
Yeah.
This one dude walks around looking like Lionel Messi, and he had sex with 23 women. And these women who want...
I feel like living in Vegas, you get to see evolution just really where I play. I'll die on the hill with this statement. The best degree in evolutionary psychology is not going to Harvard. It's not Dave Buss's lab at UT Austin. It is XS Nightclub.
Yes.
It is the greatest teacher of evolution
Yes.
The nightclub. I always say life is a nightclub.
Yes.
Because you just see, like, one, the dimorphic sex differences, two, the way the setup works, how status works, and also something, because I used to promote in Boston, stuff like that. I met a lot of girls who were really liberal. They didn't like the patriarchy. They didn't like men and women treated differently. I'm like, look, you could pay for the table at the club.
Yeah.
And be like, well, I want to go to the club. Well, but I'm not only going to go if, Tristan takes me. I'm like, okay. So I think that is the best learning mechanism of evolutionary psychology because you get to really see it in the field, in real time.
So two great books. One's called The Intelligence Paradox, and the other one is called Why Beautiful People Have More Daughters by Satoshi Kanazawa. And Dr. Kanazawa and I have had we've had some correspondence via email.
Yeah.
And one of the things I told him, I was like, Dr. Kanazawa, absolutely the greatest evolutionary psychology experiment of all time is called Las Vegas, Nevada. Maybe Dubai's like this now too, but it's like the girls with the biggest...
Nightclubs specifically,
the girls with the biggest and the blondest hair are going up against the guys who have the highest status and the most money.
Yes.
And they're like literally meeting at this apex, tip of the spear, just incredible, high levels of male intersexual competition where dudes are shitting each other. And like, you bought a $100,000 bottle? I'm going to buy a $100,000 and they go back and forth at each other.
And do you ever see hot women buy a $100,000 bottle?
No.
Ever.
And by the way,
actually, in Vegas, they wouldn't let you buy a $100,000 bottle. It would never happen.
If a woman came with a group of girls try to buy alcohol, they wouldn't even let her do it. The funny thing is, what else do we have as far as intersexual competition? What is the ultimate example? It's like UFC. It's like mixed martial arts. It's boxing, and that's what else we have? We're the boxing capital of the world.
Right.
We're the MMA. UFC headquarters is next door to this building.
Yeah.
We're the MMA capital of the world. Intersexual competition amongst men. This is one of the reasons why I got so into evolutionary psychology is because I live in Vegas. Because some things that he talks about from a theoretical framework, like say for instance mate choice copying, Dr. Buss talks about, I see every day in real life with with men who've been with 2,000 women. I'm not saying that my experiences talking to Dan Bilzerian or my experiences in a nightclub are scientific. They're certainly anecdotal. My point is what they are is they're 3 or 4 standard deviations away from the mean, and I'm seeing what the extreme examples look like. And in those extreme examples, when men have more and more and more and more status, there should be a point at which it breaks, and then the more status doesn't lead to more women, and it never happens.
100%.
23 women want to sue this guy pretending to be Lionel Messi. Did you see this?
Yeah.
This one dude walks around looking like Lionel Messi, and he had sex with 23 women. And these women who want to sue him, knew full and well that he was married when they had sex with him. They knew Lionel Messi was married. So it's totally fine for them to have sex with a married man and to share that married man with his wife. But it's not okay that they had sex with a man who pretended to be Lionel Messi and wasn't actually Lionel Messi. It's like one of the craziest things that I've ever seen. These women were willing to have sex with a man who gave them no money, who did not give them children, and gave them no provisioning whatsoever. They slept with him for one reason, because his perceived status. That is the only reason. And he's short. It's the only reason that they slept with this dude. And then you see that, and then you look at all the studies from evolutionary psychologists, and you're like, oh, it is true.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so obvious. Again, I'm not saying the nightclub is a representation of the real world.
No, but it's harder.
It is harder. But it's just why do the hottest women get on stage? Why is the nightclub that has the best revenue not the one where the best DJ is? It's always where the hottest girls are.
Yes.
It's you can't explain these differences away that on just society. It's the way humans interact and what the proclivities that we have are. That's the biggest thing.
By the way, when the top injury attorney in your city throws a charity party, the hottest girls are there compared to the other injury attorneys. When the biggest plastic surgeon in the city throws an event, the prettiest girls are there compared to the other plastic surgeons. Yeah. When the nightclub, it's like when you watch these nightclubs, the hottest nightclub is always going to have the prettiest girls. It's always going to be like that. And you start to notice this correlation between higher status events and more attractive women, right?
Yes.
You'll even notice that the players in the NBA and the NFL that make more money have prettier wives. You're going to see, same thing with golfers. Golfers, their wives are stunning.
Yeah.
baseball players, a lot of them, they have stunning wives. And you start to see this as like, as you climb the status ladder, you saw that girl, what's her name? The one that was supposed to have the baby with Mark Davis.
Hayden Hopkins?
Hayden Hopkins. She's not having a baby with Mark Davis. She's having a baby with Joey Gallo, who's the center fielder for the Yankees.
Yeah.
Like that's who, like when you go up to these higher levels of status, the defining method of that status is the more attractive women. So I want you to consider one more time, let's go back to the patriarchy argument. If I'm a man and I live in a vacuum, I'm just a mid-tier level man, and I look and I consistently see men with higher status having prettier women, what is it going to motivate me to do?
Seek higher status.
Yes. And if I do so and I get more higher status, and in doing so, I make more money and have more positions of responsibility and authority, of course there's a patriarchy. Of course there is. Like that's essentially what's going to happen, because I keep watching the most attractive men being rewarded with sex, the highest status men being rewarded with sex by the most attractive women.
Yeah.
How is that being rewarded with babies? They're having children with the most attractive women. Then of course, I'm going to try to do the same thing. And that's the problem. That's where we get back into this issue. It's like, because we do not admit that there are dimorphic differences between men and women.
Yeah.
What do we end up in? We live in la la land, in delusional land. Mm-hmm. And because of that, like, dude, if trans people had not tried to shove some of these ideas down the throats of other people, I think they'd be far more accepted. In fact, this is a great, I've said this before. Mm-hmm. This is a really controversial take. I think homosexual men are going to leave the LGBT community. I think
100%.
I think they are, because homosexual men run for mayor. Homosexual men are accountants, lawyers,
and
doctors.
oftentimes are still masculine.
Yeah, homosexual men can act masculine. Homosexual men are looking at the rest of the LGBT community and like, why are you dragging us into this shit? Homosexual men.
What did Dave Chappelle say, man? They're all just driving in the same car.
Yeah,
together, right?
Homosexual men become judges. Homosexual men are like the conservatives of the LGBT community. They are. Like, I truly, when I watch, because I know a lot of guys who are gay, and when I see them, they're like, they don't want this. They don't want, if they ever have a daughter that they adopted, they don't want a man going into the bathroom with them either. That's the crazy part about it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I've said this before. I think gay men are going to be like, why are you dragging us into this? We don't want to be a part of it. But that's the problem. It's like now 50 years ago for sure. But like the level of, I talked to Brad Lee about this. I was like, dude, if there was a gay, like Buttigieg, if there was a gay guy who like said everything you believed economically and had the same level of morals, would you vote for him? He goes, 100% I would vote for him. I don't give a of course I would vote for him.
Dude, are you kidding me? Dude, if I was ever throwing a massive party, and if I got the privilege to throw the Ignite party, if that ever comes back, I'm letting gay dudes in first.
Yeah, so Bilzerian said this is really funny.
So perfect.
William Costello talks about this one other massive difference between men and women, is that homophobia seems to be something that is way more prevalent in men than women. And it doesn't really make sense because for me, and I'm not like this, I like gay men at a party because gay men at a party aren't competition to me, and they make the women feel more comfortable.
Right.
For me, a perfect party would be me, 5 of my buddies, like 5 other gay dudes, and like 30 girls. That would be an incredible party. These other dudes, they're actually going to be like, they're going to be more responsible. And here's the other thing. The adaptation for homosexuality is like, if I'm living in the Plasticine and I have to go off and hunt with my son, do I want 19-year-old strong, buck, horny male, heterosexual male looking after my wife and daughter? Or do I want the gay man doing it? Because the gay man still has a man's frame. He still has a man's grip strength. He still has a man's skeletal muscular structure. He still has a man's testosterone. He's just not going to try to have sex with my daughter.
Yeah.
So like, to me, that's the adaptation for homosexuality. I don't know if it's the correct answer. What I do know is that homosexuality is not a paradox to me. I understand why it exists, and I have no animosity towards homosexuals whatsoever. You want to do that, that's totally fine. It's not even a choice. My heterosexuality is not a choice, so I'm not going to say that your homosexuality is a choice, okay? Right. It's not an issue. But where does homophobia come from? It's a paradox. Like, that's actually the issue is like,
I don't get it, man.
Now, here's the thing. When you explain to men and women, just people in general in academia, that here is unassailable proof that men are more interested in sexual variety than women, what happens is now your narrative or your goal of trying to make the word egalitarian or the world egalitarian, I've put a wrench in your works. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? I'm throwing a monkey wrench in there.
Yeah.
Like Eckhart Tolle says, what you resist persists. So when you resist that there are innate sex differences between men and women, we can never overcome them and become a better society. Right. My solution is actually going to get us to an egalitarian society before the feminists and the women's gender studies course as well. Mine will.
Yeah.
Mine will actually get us there quicker because we can overcome these things when we accept that's why they exist, instead of doing what Mooncat did and blamed every single innate sex difference between men and women on patriarchy.
Yeah.
Really? That's why male chimps are more interested in casual sex than female chimps? Because of Patriarchy? Is that the reason why? And let me ask you something else. If patriarchy was real, if like the necessity for casual sex or the necessity for sexual variety was a function of patriarchy, why is 98% of pornography consumed by men? Right. Even when you're in your house alone and no one can judge you, women are still not choosing sexual variety to the level that men. And by the way, it's not just straight men. It's gay men. Gay men consume far, like the ratio of gay men consuming pornography in comparison to lesbian women is 1 million to 1. Yeah. It's not even close. Yeah. And so when you come to this realization, you say, okay, Michael's right. Turns out sexual variety in men, like men wanting more sexual variety, not a function of patriarchy. It's not a function of culture. It's a function of genetics. Yeah. And so now, because we know that's the case, now we can start to work through it as opposed to denying that it exists. Making things, just waving our hand and saying a trans woman is a biological woman. When you say that, it's just, the problem is it's not true. Yeah. And when you say that, now you erode science, and now why do I even believe in gravity? And if you look, more and more people don't believe in gravity because of morons like Terrence Howard going on Joe Rogan or flat earthers. Yeah. But how are you able to erode that? You're able to erode it by believing in stuff that isn't true. There's nothing wrong. If a man culturally, if a man wants to call himself a woman, I don't have a problem with that because culturally he has the right to do so. First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Right. He has the right to do so. But if a man wants to then tell me because he's transitioned to a woman, now he can have babies, and the fact that I say that he can't makes me bigot or a misogynist, what's happened then is that now we're talking about things that aren't true. First off, my statement is based in fact and there's no hatred involved. And second of all, what you're saying is objectively not true. So if we get to the point where your feelings make objective truths not be true anymore, then what is the point of the electromagnetic effect? What is the point of the strong or weak nuclear force? What is the point of gravity? What is the point of quantum mechanics? What is the point of relativity? These are objective truths. What would we do them for? Because nothing is objectively true. It's called postmodernist thinking. Yeah. And so when you have that sort of belief, then things become problematic.